Did you see that? The percentage of it.
I did see that.
Very good. I like that was.
It really is.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are live on YouTube and we are learning Samach Vav and we're having a great time. And we're going to review some of the things we learned before. We're going to go back a few lines. We've learned this. We're not going to spend too much time on it. If you want to, if any, until we get to the new stuff. And for that, if you want to watch the reruns, they're on YouTube. So
the book, I'm not getting the book.
you're getting the book, Bashar Tevo Mitzlachas.
Okay.
The book is waiting to be picked up at Kahas warehouse in thing. Menachem asked me to please bring him a copy of that book.
Oh.
The exact one that you wanted. So I ordered one to be delivered here because I need to take him one, but you'll get it when I get back. So ich weiß nicht. If you want, I can order one to your house. I'll send one to your house and I'll take the one that's there. You want that? Are you going to learn it while I'm away? Probably. Okay. So maybe if I have time, I'll do that. Okay.
Yeah.
What's your address?
22.
I'll ask them to send you one. Okay, let's not do it now, okay?
Yeah.
Let's not do it now. Let's not do it now. Ulahavin cause I talk like them tchila, then you do it, the tachlis priest have a silemus, for tachlis, I want to be on a shabako, for Bchtela, Hamshak kilo here and say, so to explain everything, to understand the questions that we asked before, and we read this previously, we're doing Chazara over here, we're doing review. To understand these questions, we must first preface with the well-known fact that the purpose of creation, the existence of the worlds, and the ultimate intent behind the descent of the soul into the body is to draw down a revelation of Eir Ein Sof into the worlds through Torah and mitzvahs, right? That the world was created to bring down the Eir Ein Sof into this world. And we said this is the notion of uniting Seviv Kol Omin with Mamale Kol Omin. We've spoken about this at great length in many of our Mamarim, that there's the light that Seviv Kol Omin that surrounds all worlds, the transcendent light, and then there's the light of Mamale Kol Omin that fills the worlds and creates the worlds, and that the ultimate purpose is to bring Seviv into Mamale, to bring the transcendent light into the world without destroying the world. And we say, L'shem yichud kudsha b'richu shchinte, before every mitzvah in reference to the unity of Seviv Ka'omin with Malik Ka'omin, every time we do a mitzvah, this creates the unity between the transcendent light of Hashem and the immanent light of God, and we bring the transcendent into the immanent, and that's the Chabad custom is to say this in the morning before we daven. Is this familiar to anybody? I hope so. This unity is the archetype for the drawing and revelation of the Atzmos Eir Ein Sof. Okay? This is the idea. In other words, creating this unity is between Seviv and Mamale is the idea of revealing the essence of the Eir Ein Sof, the essence of the infinite light, which is the reason for the existence of the world and the descent of the soul within it. We're going to explain this in greater length. Now we're going to start beginning. Now we're going to start explaining. This is really the meat and potatoes of the Maimer, of Samach Vav. Maimer, as it is said, as the saying goes in the Midrash, God desires to have a dwelling place in the lower realms. Here it says below. It is said that God desires to have a dwelling place below. And then we said, just as in a man's dwelling, this is the Rabbi Rashab speaking. Just like in a man's dwelling, a person has a home, right? You have a home. By way of example, the Atzmus Ha'adam Dar Bahadira, the essence of the man dwells in that home. Here he says he dwells as he is himself. Fragnish, wait. So to above God wishes Atzmos Eir Ein Sof to exist in a revealed form down here below. So there's this enigmatic sentence, a phrase. In his home, he dwells as he is himself. What that means is like this. What that means is like this. When you come to Chabad, you get all dressed up and you put on a persona and you pretend, and with this and with that, and you got to put on a public persona. But when you're at home and you turn off the lights and you're lying in your bed under your blankets and there's nobody else there and it's just you and you're finally comfortable, that's a home. That's a home. A home is a place that you can be yourself.
Did this happen when the Mishkan was consecrated?
I don't know. Good question. Good question. You're asking great questions, but you're taking us off topic.
Well, it's-
You're asking great questions, but you're taking us off topic. You're doing a great job, Mr. Fensterstock. You're the best. You're on topic.
Total.
What? He's on topic. You're on topic. Let's stick with the Maimah. All questions will be answered as we go through the Maimah. It's a great question. What did you ask? I'm sorry.
It says that Nitava Kadosh Baruch Hu Yedina B'Tachtonim. We cannot ask why. Right? This.
We're going to deal with that too. As always does for now. We can ask everything. But we're going to get to that. We're going to get to Jerry's question and we're going to get to your question. We're going to get to all the questions.
Maybe after you come back from something.
He dwells in a home. He dwells as he is himself. So it is on high. God wishes Atzmas Eir Ein Sof to exist in a revealed form down here, as it is. Okay. Look, and this we read last week as well. Like it says in the famous Sefer Eimek HaMelech. I gave you a little history of Eimek HaMelech a previous week. The Bria Soilemus, his name is Bacharach. The Bria Soilemus Haya de Atzimtzum Arishan. And we've quoted this in other places. In some of our other Mamarim, we learned this. In Maimah Mikomecha, we read this, and I think we might have even mentioned this in the Tzemach Tzedek.
Well, we heard about Tzimtzum, but not Tzimtzum.
It says in the beginning of Eimek HaMelech that the creation of the worlds occurred through the effect of Tzimtzum Arishan, the first Tzimtzum.
So
There's an infinite amount of Tzimtzumim.
So this is the Arisha would be when
The first Tzimtzum. Even before that. What happened at Tzimtzum Arishan on Eir Ein Sof of the infinite light? What happened was the first Tzimtzum was the removal of the infinite light, and a void, an empty space remained. And this served as the source of the creation of Kalim and the existence of all the worlds. So the first thing that happened, there was a Siluk Ha'ir, the Eir departed, and we were left with a Makam Chalo, an empty place. Remember this?
Yeah.
After the Tzimtzum, the Kav was revealed. This was the revelation of a light which shone into the Kalim and the worlds. The Kav is the line, that light that comes like a straight line, and we said it gets progressively lower and lower as it comes down below, a lower and lower frequency of light. After the Tzimtzum Arishan, the Kav is Meir in the Makam Chalo. After the Tzimtzum, nope, not yet. After the Tzimtzum Harishan, the light is chayzer. We get a new light. The light comes back. But what happens is the light that comes back is not the Eir HaBli It's not the infinite light. What comes light is the Eir HaGvul, the light that can be finite, the light that can be contained. And in the higher you go, every world contains as much light as that world can contain. And as you get lower, things get diminished. The frequency gets diminished, gets progressively lower.
Yes.
The intensity of the light gets progressively lower as you go lower, right? As you go higher, the intensity of the light gets progressively stronger. Well, it comes from above to below as it comes down. But since it's containable light, by definition, it's light that's contained by the world that it's in. And therefore, we're talking about a finite kind of a light, because the infinite light can't be contained anywhere. So what happens is, in a way, that after the Tzimtzum, what happens is, at the process of Tzimtzum, there is a separation between the Eir HaGvul and the Eir HaBli Gvul. There's a separation between the light. We've spoken about this in some of our other Mamarim, that the idea that the light refracts, is that the right word? Mm-hmm. The light. So before the Tzimtzum, the Eir HaGvul and the Eir HaBli Gvul shine together. After the Tzimtzum, the Eir HaBli Gvul, the infinite light, after the Tzimtzum, the infinite light remains a transcendent light, which we call the Eir HaSovev, the surrounding light. It cannot permeate into the worlds because its intensity is too strong for the worlds. But there's no world that can contain the Eir HaSovev. There's no world that it's uncontainable. But the Oir HaGvul, the limit, but at the highest point, and this is called the Kav. The Kav is it's called a straight line because it's almost, it's to show that it doesn't surround, but it enters as a straight line. The one that surrounds can't go in. The Oir HaKav can come in, the line.
So now our cover is comprised from wool, from all.
It's the Oir HaGvul. But just because it's a gvul doesn't mean it's at the highest, it's the highest intensity of light. At the highest, it's the highest intensity of light. As you get down into this world, as you go down from world to world, it gets progressively less intense.
So the original light is split, and one part becomes the surrounding light, and the other part becomes the imminent light.
We could say that. We could say that. Yes, we could say that. Now we gotta be 1 second. Here's the challenge over here. So this is the challenge that we are dealing with, and we've been dealing with this challenge for years. The challenge, the challenge that we've been dealing with for years. The challenge that we're dealing with for years is we're dealing with such thicker things. We're dealing with ideas that are so subtle. They're so subtle that it's very, very, very hard to come up with absolute and complete definitions. But so the answer is, it sounds right. What you're saying sounds right.
And then ultimately,
Is it exactly?
that light which was split is going to be reunited again.
That's very good. So we're trying, when we do a mitzvah, we are being meyached the Eira HaSeva with the Eira Mamale. When we do a mitzvah, the purpose of the mitzvah is to unite the infinite light with the finite light, with the light, the transcendent light with the transcendent light with the immanent light.
But then also, we can ask, why is that needed?
So Josh is asking a very, very important question: is why does Hashem want this? That's a very, very, very good question. That's the center of the Maimah. That question is what this Maimah is coming to address. That's the question. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to understand that.
You send $50.
Okay.
Well, can
Rachel
I
has a question. Yes, Rachel.
Thank you. I actually have two questions. One is, how does the world of Tohu, where does the world of Tohu fit into this? Was that the infinite light? And the other question is, so if we're going to reunite the infinite light with the light that can be contained, how come all of a sudden at that point the infinite light can be contained in this world?
Okay, so that's the question. So the first question you asked is, where is Tohu on this thing? Is it before the Tzimtzum or after the Tzimtzum? So the answer to your question is, it's a very, very good question. Your question is, where is Tohu in the spectrum, in this model? So the answer to your question is, that's a really, really hard question to answer, because there are, I think we're going to have to say, for the purposes of this discussion, it's probably after the Tzimtzum, but I don't know. It could be before the Tzimtzum Rishon. I don't know, because there's Tzimtzum before Tzimtzum. That's the answer to your question. No, it's not a simple question. I have to. It's before I think it's after the Tzimtzum Rishon. I think we have to say that Tohu is after the Tzimtzum Rishon. Okay, that's the answer to your question, I think. Now, well, the second question is the more important question, is if it couldn't be, if they couldn't be united with, if the transcendent light needed to be removed in order for the immanence to be created, how can you have a re-admittance of transcendence into the immanent and into the finite without destroying the finite? That's your question, right?
Yes.
And that is what we're going to be that's what we're going to be exploring soon.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
At some point, we have to get to Josh's question of
Why? And Josh wants to know, why did God want this?
Sitting happy in that bed under the covers, as you talked about. Why wasn't he happy with the status quo? What induced him to do all of this?
Okay, so in order to answer that,
point, we cannot keep assuming. Was it going to go forward? There should be an answer. We haven't had this, we keep asking why, because God is infinite.
Okay,
I don't think we can know why.
So Josh wants to know why, and Jerry wants to know why.
Yeah.
I was gonna wait with the mimer to go there,
Okay.
but because these guys are so
Juvenile.
well, I wasn't gonna use that word. So eager to understand. So the famous answer that's given, from the Alter Rebbe is Afak Taiva Frekmenish Kashus. Huh?
Okay.
It's a good answer, right?
Yeah.
It says Nisava, Hashem, Nisava Kodesh Baruch Hu, Hashem desired, Hashem had a taiva. A taiva is a great desire. God had a desire. And the answer that's given is you can't ask questions when somebody has a desire, they want this. You can't ask them why you want it. I want it because I want it. It meaning of a taiva is a deep desire, a deep pull, a craving, a craving. You can't ask questions on a craving because it's a craving. Now, if you want to go a little deeper, you're asking the question why has an answer in seichel. The question why has an answer in intellect. Yeah. The desire for a world comes from a place that's higher than intellect. The desire for a world comes from a place that's higher than intellect. It comes from higher than from Kesser. Because Kesser is already in Esesphiros. And we're talking about higher than the 10 Sphiros. So exactly how high? It goes as high as it can possibly get. That's where the desire comes from. So the answer is you're trying to say, give me an answer in Seichel Enushi, in a human mind, why God wanted this. It's an impossible exercise. But what we do know is this is what Hashem wanted. What we do know is this is what Hashem wanted. Why does Hashem want it? We don't know exactly. How do we do it? We know. Okay? Now, so that's one answer. Okay. Now, we have a little parentheses over here. Jerry asked about the remnant of the light and what we call the reshimu, the stain or the tracings of the light that remain. So here in parentheses, the Rebbe Rashab introduces the concept. He talks a little bit about the reshima.
You got brackets within parentheses.
Do we?
Yeah. As is known. And then
so that's the English.
Okay.
As is known, the reintroduction of the kav into the reshima brought about actual existence. Because the creation of the kalim and of the worlds occurred through the light of the kav that was affected by the reshima. I don't know what the Ayadeza is havas b'poel kiyadua. Tis havas a kalim ve'echad is havas olis achlau yada kav b'koyach harishima with the power of the reshima. That's the answer. This is just like the rule. The potential provides the energy for actualization. Explained also. We'll come back to the parentheses later. Okay. The worlds in general. The worlds in general, and the Eiros and the Kalim, and the lights and all the vessels were within the void and empty space that remained after the Tzimtzum. In other words, you have a void. The Kav comes back into the void. The Kalim are in the void. The lights are in the void. The worlds exist within the void. Everything exists within this void. This is where we got to last week. We got a little further. So then Hashem creates a whole system of creation and he brings about a world in practice. And in the world he puts a garden. And in the garden he puts two human beings. However, it says, and God settled him, Adam, in the Garden of Eden to cultivate it and to guard it. And the Midrash explains that to cultivate it refers to the 248 positive commandments, and to guard it refers to the 365 negative commandments. In other words, humans are given a task to do and to not do. To do good things and not to do bad things, and to protect the world. So what does that mean? This means that man was placed on earth to draw down an additional light through the kav from Eir Ein Sof that precedes the Tzimtzum. Okay, so now we're going to go again. So now you've got a world. It's a helam, it's a place of darkness. That's the world. And man is placed in this world to draw down more light into the world. So what is the channel? To draw down an additional light. What is it? Tosefes Eiros, extra light, through the kav, from the Eir Ein Sof, Shelifnei HaTzimtzum, from the infinite light before the Tzimtzum.
thought there was a barrier.
Through the Kav, we're drawing down additional light through the Kav from the Ein Sof that precedes the Tzimtzum. This process will continue until the times of Mashiach, when there will be a complete revelation of the Ein Sof in this empty space, because we're still existing within the Makam Chalo, right? So there will be a complete revelation of the infinite light in this empty space, just as it was before the Tzimtzum. So then Rachel asked, if it couldn't be done before, why is it being done now? So now, and so now comes the question, well, what happened? What's the point? And yet this novelty of this goal seems difficult to understand. Didn't the Ein Sof fill the place of the void before the Tzimtzum? The Ein Sof was in the Makam Chalo before the Tzimtzum. There was Ein Sof, the infinite light. Then he removes the infinite light and he leaves a vacuum. And ultimately what we're going to do is bring the infinite light back. So if that's the point, who needs the whole thing? What are we gaining? What's going to be achieved? Now it is obvious, I think this is new. Now it is obvious that in the beginning when the Ein Sof filled the place of void, the existence of the world was impossible. This is where Rachel's question has come from. Due to this, there could be no revelation of godliness within the worlds. However, after the worlds were created and a revelation of Ein Sof as it is before the Tzimtzum was drawn down, that revelation can occur within the worlds. So what's the point of the whole thing? The answer is, we're going to see something completely different. Before the creation of the world, you couldn't have this kind of light in the world. It would overpower the world. Now, we're going to create, through our Torah mitzvahs, we're bringing an infinite light with an intensity and frequency, an intensity of light that's beyond the natural capacity of world to hold it. So Rachel's question is, well, hold on a second, if this light is so powerful, how are you going to contain it in world? If you can contain it in world, what the Rebbe Rashab is saying over here so far is the great uftu, the achievement that's being done over here, is we're going to have in the world an intensity of light that's too strong for a world. The question is, Rachel wants to know, how is it going to happen? So the answer is, we're getting there. True, at the inception of existence, the light from before the Tzimtzum was not able to be revealed. After the worlds came into existence, however, they are able to accept this light as well. The world will be able to contain that light. Explaining the unity between Seir and Male.
How does it know that?
So this is Rachel's question. The notion that the Ein Sof can be revealed to creation without creation losing its existence is extremely difficult to understand from a philosophical perspective. As such, we will link it to a more familiar Kabbalistic idea and an analogy for that idea. So we're going to do a little Kabbalah on another topic, and we're going to, based on this, we'll be able to explain how this can happen. So Rachel, we're now working on the answer to your question. It can be said that this is like what the Eitz Chaim writes concerning the revelation of the Kav. He asks, why did the light of the Kav also have to be removed? Do you remember in the Makam Cholo, in the vacuum, in the empty space, not only did the transcendent light get removed, but the immanent light also got removed. So why did we have to remove the immanent light that would later come back in the form of a kav, in the form of a straight line?
Well, the kav is what created, preceded it.
First, you have Tzimtzum HaRishon. In Tzimtzum HaRishon, all the light is removed. Right?
Yeah. Except the Rishimon.
So the question is, there's the Rishimu, but it's not the Kav. So the question is, why did the Kav, if the Kav is able to be contained by worlds, filter out the Eira Bligavul, why do you also have to take the Eira Sevev? Why do you have to take the Eira Mamale away? Why couldn't the Eira Mamale stay there? Why couldn't the light that fills the worlds, the light of the Kav stay in the Makkah Mecholol?
Mala is there.
No, it was removed also. Siluk Ha'ir, all the light was removed, but came back again.
Oh, okay.
It was removed and came back again. So if the Kav had been left over in the beginning, he says like this, if you had left the light of the Kav in the beginning, the Kalim would not have existed. There wouldn't have been the potential for Kalim. Kalim would have been smothered by light. After they were created, but once you had Kalim, even when the light of Kav shines forth, it does not obliterate them.
For what the Kalim?
Let's see. Similarly, the same general idea could be said in regards to the Ein Sof as it is before the Tzimtzum. Once worlds are created, they are able to accept this light as well. Okay. So now, that's what he says, but it's still hard to understand. So now the Rebbe Rashab is going to explain it to us. And he's going to explain this concept to us with an analogy, with a mashal. He's going to explain this to us with an analogy. There's a possible analogy to this would be the transmission of an idea from a teacher to a student. Were the teacher to give the student the innermost depth of the idea at the beginning of the lesson, the student would be unable to receive it. The teacher must transmit his intellectual energy according to the student's abilities. Right?
Okay.
Once the student has received this contracted light and it has been grasped and absorbed in his intellect, he can eventually reach the innermost depths of the teacher's intellect. This is what is meant by the Gemara. A man only grasps his teacher's intellect after 40 years of toil. The student will also have the ability to accept new information in an unadulterated form. So, you first have to remove, the teacher has to, the teacher, Einstein is coming to teach the high school students. He can't tell him all the ideas. He's got to first teach them basic math or whatever it is, right? The basic principles. Slowly but surely, you build them up to the point that they can get the real ideas that they're trying to transmit. But if you didn't have a tzimtzum, if you didn't hide the real ideas at the beginning, they wouldn't be able to accept. In other words, and later they're able to accept. So in other words, the question was, if the infinite light would overwhelm the Kalim, how could they later be reintroduced into the Kalim? So the answer is slowly. The answer is, if you build up the Kalim enough, they'll be able to do it.
But the question is, how are the Kalim created? Because if everything was withdrawn, how?
Okay, so the answer is, where do the Kalim come from? The answer is from the Rishimu. The Sheresh of the Kalim is the Rishimu. It must be said, huh?
Good.
You're happy with that?
Yeah.
Good. It must be said that this is due not only to the teacher's efforts to simplify the idea, but also because the student hones the vessels of his own mind. In other words, the Kalim expand. The vessels get stronger and stronger. Through the process, you're building, not only is the teacher drawing, not only is the intensity of light being diminished, but the Kalim are getting bigger. Through his efforts to grasp the idea, the vessel of his mind is fixed and refined. The vessels are refined, as is known regarding the imparting of knowledge from teacher to student, giving many lessons. The abilities of the student to become like that of those of the teacher. In other words, Rachel, the answer to your question is the Kalim become refined. In a similar manner, we may understand the relationship between the worlds after they have been created and the light of the Kav being shone in them. For it is known that the Pnimi, the immanent light that enters the world, refines the inside half of the vessel and the Ur Makif, the surroundings. So the imminent light refines the inside of the vessel, and the surrounding light refines the outside of the vessel in a similar manner. As a result, the Kalim are able to accept the light in its entirety afterwards, even that which is higher than the revelation of the Kav. So the answer to Rachel's question, which is a phenomenal question, how can the Kalim accept a light which transcends worlds, which would have, if in the beginning the world couldn't contain it? So the answer is through the process, through the process of growth. Very good, Josh. Through the process of growth, the Kalim grow, the Kalim develop, the vessels develop to the point that they can even accept that. Torah, the perfect explanation. The main reason that this is possible is that the flow happens through the Torah. The flow of light, the higher light that comes down into the world is a light that comes through Torah, as it is written. Hashem oiz la'ama yitain, God gave strength to his nation. And it says also, ein oiz ela Torah. And the Midrash says there's no strength but Torah. Through the Torah, the righteous are given the strength to receive Eir Ein Sof, that is much higher than the worlds, and yet not have their existence obliterated. So the answer is through Torah. By Torah, the light comes through Torah. Torah helps refine the vessels, grow the vessels, so that you can accept the light that's way beyond what you would have been able to accept without Torah.
I don't understand this notion of righteous people receiving or Ein Sof. How can human beings receive this light?
Human beings through Torah have an expansion of their vessels to the point that they can receive the infinite light way bigger than they would have. Through Torah, you become immortal. You become superhuman. You're able to take on revelation at levels beyond what a normal human being would be able to have, because Torah is Hashem's strength. Torah is refining the vessels of the person to be able to.
It's part of all of so
But I mean, the notion of a human being absorbing
subs.
light is something I don't understand.
Well, energy. Get energy.
It's an awareness of God. Humans are able to have a much greater awareness of God through the learning of Torah. Because they learn Torah, their minds are expanded, their hearts are expanded, their capacities are expanded, and they're able to have an intimacy with Hashem, which is beyond what they would have been able to have without Torah. Torah refines the vessel that the person, enabling him to have a spiritual connection with Hashem.
Spiritual power.
So,
And if you're not having it yet, it means you've got to learn more Torah.
well, that's for sure.
Spiritual power.
So the human beings become Kalim.
Human beings are Kalim. Everything's a Kalim. We all Kalim. The question is, how big are our Kalim? We have Kalim. How big are our Kalim? How much can we accept? How much can we do? And the answer is we have to expand our Kalim. We have to make our Kalim bigger. One of the ways we make our Kalim bigger is by learning Torah. Then there's a problem also. We have to also make sure that our Kalim are clean. Every time we sin, God forbid, we make our Kalim shmutzik. We put cholesterol on the channels. So we got to clean them out. Right, so we got to make sure that the Lou had a stent put in. If I may be so personal, Lou. Clearly, it's all because a pacemaker, not a stent. Jerry had the stent.
I have this.
You have a stent. I'm jealous. I'm jealous of you guys. No, the nakuda is that we got to make sure that the channels are flowing well. So we got to make sure that we don't stop. We stoop them up. With every time we, God forbid, are doing the wrong things, we're closing up the channels. Every time we learn Torah, we're opening up bigger and bigger channels for revelation of an experience of godliness.
The key here
Okay.
is
As well as the study, right? So Torah gives us this capacity. As well, the study of Torah allows the worlds themselves to receive the light of Eir Ein Sof, as explained in Tanya at the end of chapter 36, that not only is Torah refining our own vessels of the person who's learning the Torah, but the whole world is being refined through the learning of Torah, enabling the world to be able to be ready to receive greater and greater revelations of godliness. Thus, we find that although this light did fill that empty space before the Tzimtzum, there is nevertheless the novelty of that light being revealed to the worlds. In other words, the Eir Ein Sof was in the Makom Chalol before the Tzimtzum. The Eir Ein Sof, the infinite light, was in the void before the Tzimtzum. But with that revelation of light, the world couldn't be existed because it would have overwhelmed the world. So we pulled it away and made a much less intense version of light, but and diminishingly, progressively lower and lower, to be able to have more and more world and less revelation. And then what happens is you get Torah. Torah expands the capacities of the world, and the world is then able to receive progressively higher and higher intensity of light and still remain a world. Does this answer your question, Rachel?
Yes, it actually does.
Okay, it's one in a row.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm learning from you, Jerry. Thus, we find that although this light did fill that empty space before the Tzimtzum, there is nevertheless the novelty of that light being revealed to the worlds. In worlds, this light was here before, but now it's in a world. That's an amazing thing. Furthermore, it can be said that there is actually, now, this is big. That actually, furthermore, can be said that there is actually a revelation of light in the world. There will be a revelation of light higher than that light which existed before. Yeah. We're going to get even more. We said the light was in the void. We're actually going to even have a higher intensity of light than that.
So?
Higher than the Eir Ein Sof Ablikvul, yes.
What's above?
Let's see. This is the additional light drawn down through Torah and mitzvahs. You're going to get even more light than there was in the first place. Through Torah and mitzvahs, Sheya'ir bechinas pnimius va'atzmus Eir Ein Sof. Not only is there a revelation of the Eir Ein Sof, but there will be a revelation of the pnimius of the Eir Ein Sof, of the inner aspect of the Eir Ein Sof. And not only the pnimius of the Eir Ein Sof, but the atzmus of the Eir Ein Sof. A light which is even higher than the light that was filled the void before it was pulled away.
That never happened.
Never happened. Exactly. A revelation of a light that's so high, it was never even higher than anything.
Even a little bit of florence.
There was a Gilui Eir Ein Sof, but there's a Gilui in the Makom Chalol Lifnei HaTzimtzum.
No. After.
Well, Mashiach didn't come yet.
Okay. So this is all about when Mashiach will come?
This is all about what's going to be when Mashiach comes. This is
all
all about the point of creation was for the Mashiach.
No, I understand.
And this is all about how since the creation of the world, we are busy preparing the world for the coming of Mashiach. And what's being described over here is what the world will be like when Mashiach comes.
Yes. In the meantime, are there dargot, are there stages that by the tzaddikim to draw down some of the problems? So
Yes, the answer is yes. But the Gilui of the Etzem is a Gilui HaEtzem, either it's for everybody or it's for nobody.
Okay.
So there's some tipping point.
Well, exactly how that happens, now you're saying. I don't know, he didn't say that yet. He didn't say that yet. You might be right, you might be wrong, but he didn't say that yet. Right?
Well, the Rambam says there's a tipping point.
We, for sure, you're right. That's a thing, but it's not what we're saying here. What are we saying? Right?
I think in the Rambam, where you have
I
a scale where things are equally balanced.
So you're doing great. You're doing great. You're doing great that you're quoting the Rambam, but we didn't say it here. So now the question is: so how does this fit in with the Rambam? That's a question, not an answer. Right? I'm not saying it's not. That's something that has to be addressed. How does it happen? When do we get there? When does it think? Is it happen? How does it happen all at once? Is there that's a good question. How does the process happen? But we didn't say that
I
yet.
have a question. I read further down, and he brings like, there's one that says like this and one says like this. Don't they have to be reconciled?
Yeah, they will. And we're going to go even higher over here. That's the whole point, is we're going even further. That's the answer. We're going further than that. We're taking it to another level. This mime is going to go to a whole nother level no one ever went before.
Smart move.
This mime is mind-boggling. This mime changed the world. Still changing the world. Okay. This is the additional light drawn down to Torah and mitzvahs. Through Torah and mitzvahs, the atom of the Ein and Sof, which is even higher than the light that previously filled the world, is revealed, as will be explained. Okay, I'm skipping this. In general, this is the revelation of Ohr Ein Sof as it is Sovev Ka'omin into Mamali Komin. It's the revelation in general. Now, look, when he says in general, there's Derech Klau and there's Derech Prat. General means it's a generalization. As a generalization, all generalizations are lacking, including this one, right? So in general, this is the revelation of the Ohr Ein Sof as it is Sovev Ka'omin into Mamala Ka'omin. And it was for this reason that the worlds were created. That's a general statement. Now, what time is it? 10:41. Let's do a little more. Okay, now, chapter 3. So this is what Josh was talking about. Okay, so we said, so far, we said that the world was created in order to have a finite place, a very finite world, and in this very finite world to reveal not only the light as it was before creation, but not only to reveal the light as it was before creation, but to reveal additional light that had never even shone before within creation. Not only the light as it was before, but Tesefes Eiros. And this in general is the revelation of the transcendent light in the immanent spaces, correct? Correct, that's what we said? Now,
Can I enlarge it a little bit?
here's what, so that is the way we're saying in general what's happening over here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take a detour. Now we're going to take a detour and we're going to bring two other reasons that were given for creation in Kabbalah. If you look through Kabbalah, you'll see two other reasons that were given for creation. Okay?
Okay. About 2 more reasons?
Two other reasons that were given for creation.
That would be 3.
That will be 3. Okay? So let me explain something to you. We're going to explain 2 other reasons for creation. And then we're going to say the weakness with each one of those 2 other explanations. How each one actually has a weakness within it. We're then going to come really back to our third, back to the one we already explained, but we're going to explain it in a far deeper way and show how this is the real reason, but in a much deeper way than we've even said so far. He's just going to, he's going to show this is Kabbalah. It's all Kabbalah. It's all Chassidus, it's all Kabbalah. Okay. He's going to show that other reasons were given, but they're not the ultimate reason. And we haven't even really explained the ultimate reason properly yet. We're going to say 2 other reasons for creation. We're going to say, while those are reasons, they're not the ultimate reason. They're true, but they're just not the ultimate reason. And then we're going to go even deeper into the ultimate reason.
The original one.
Which may or may not be the original one, we'll have to see. Yes, Rachel.
Yeah, thank you. No, I'm just a little, if we could clarify, before we go to other reasons. What's that?
No, now I can hear you. They were talking, so I couldn't hear you.
Oh, you couldn't hear me. Oh, okay. But I don't understand. What does that mean? Bringing in a light that didn't shine before. Isn't all light a part of Hashem? How could there be a light that never existed before? If it's part of Hashem, that encompasses everything.
Okay. So the answer to your question, Rachel asks a very, very good question. I'm not going to explain it at complete length today, but I just want to say today that there is a difference between the source of light and the light.
Hmm.
Light is a ray that emanates from a source. And ultimately, we've been talking about light,
Mm.
the light of Hashem. We haven't been talking about Hashem himself
Hmm.
in his
Oh, okay.
essence.
Yeah, thank you. That's good. Yeah, I tend to often confuse that distinction, you know, I
Okay.
forget about,
So
yeah,
now you remember.
This is an
Now I remember.
Aristotelian notion that this
you
is
reminded me.
something
Thank
that's
you.
created, therefore there is a creator.
It
And that's what we're looking at. That's a higher level.
it connects to that notion. It's deeper than that notion. I heard yesterday someone said that, I don't know if it's true. Somebody said to me, I heard someone say yesterday on a recording, somebody said that physics is not math, but it uses the language of math. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. And they said, by extension, Chassidus is not Kabbalah, but it uses the language of Kabbalah to make a point. Okay? So we use, which, if you want to go, I've heard it said about the Rambam was not an Aristotelian. He just used the language of Aristotle in order to present some concepts. So wherever it's useful to use an idea to express a concept, we'll use it. But we're not really here to do any of what we're here to do is to learn Chassidus, to reveal a concept. The question we're here to explain and explore is, what was the purpose of creation? That's the question we're exploring. What is the ultimate purpose of creation? And now what we're going to say, we're going to quote from Kabbalah two very interesting ideas that were given of why did God create the world. Two very interesting ideas that are given. Both are true. They're true at a certain level. But we're going to say that ultimately they're not the ultimate they're not the ultimate answer. The ultimate answer is deeper than both of them. Okay? So we're not saying these things aren't true, but we're saying that they're not the ultimate. I'll give you an example. Everybody knows that Jerry came here today to hang out with Josh.
Absolutely.
It's true, but it's not the ultimate reason why he came here.
You can't believe someone.
The ultimate reason he came is to learn Torah.
Technical goal.
Okay, you understand? So in other words, things can be true on multiple levels, but what's the deepest reason for something? So
Something could be true, but untrue.
that's also true. Okay. Now, in the beginning of the Sefer Eitz Chaim, which is a very important book of Kabbalah from...
That's something you ought to read next.
Jerry wants to learn Eitz Chaim. You definitely should.
Is there any English translation?
No, you'll learn Hebrew.
If my son, when he majored in Sanskrit, had to learn German.
Okay, so Eitz Chaim, one second. Eitz Chaim is the Sefer of, it's from Reb Chaim Vital, and it explains, that's what's called Chaim, and it's the Kabbalah of the Arizal, as recorded by Reb Chaim Vital. Okay.
Is there a Hebrew with the Baruch?
This is, you don't need to read Eitz Chaim. Learn this and you'll get everything you need from Eitz Chaim. If you learned Eitz Chaim, I'll tell you what happened. If you learned Eitz Chaim, you would miss the whole point of the whole book. Really. Because what's been done here is, by the Rabbi Rashab, he's telling us how, he's teaching us how to read the Eitz Chaim, what it's all about, really.
Refines.
Okay. Now, in the beginning of Eitz Chaim, it is written, the purpose for the creation of the worlds, okay, we're going to stop here. We'll do this when we get back from South Africa, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, I'm going to stop here.
That's a good first sentence.
Yeah.